Hello and welcome to another episode of The Fun That I Just Watched with your host as always, Kyle McLemore. This week we'll be recapping and reviewing the latest Stephen King short story adaptation. That's right, it's The Boogeyman. And before we get too far along in the review, be sure to hit that like and subscribe button as it's much appreciated and it keeps the show alive. And if you haven't seen The Boogeyman and would still like to, make sure you pause now and return later as there may be several spoilers up ahead. That's right, this is your official spoiler alert! As mentioned before, The Boogeyman is the latest story from Stephen King to get a film adaptation, joining the ranks of The Shining, It, Pet Sematary, Firestarter, Children of the Corn, Dreamcatcher, The Mist, the Bullet, The Dark Tower, Doctor Sleep, just to name a few. And so how does The Boogeyman rank amongst those other adaptations? The cast of The Boogeyman is relatively small, as the story centers mostly around a father and his two daughters who recently just lost their mother in a tragic car accident. Messina stars as our psychologist slash father of the two daughters, played by Sophie Thatcher and Vivien Blair. I suppose it's a bit of a toss-up between Sophie Thatcher and Vivien Blair, but I guess the story leans a little bit more towards Sophie Thatcher just because she's the older kid, so we kind of have the story more on her. Sophie Thatcher doing a wonderful job throughout the film. She does a really great job at projecting the feelings of like grief and mourning and loss into the audience, because she's basically the only character who seems to be affected by the loss of her mother. The story of The Boogeyman starts out simply enough. It's just basically about a family trying to move on through their loss, move on through their grieving. And it's not until Dastmalchian pops up that things get a little bit creepy. If you don't recognize Dastmalchian, he's popped up anytime you need like a strung out, creepy looking dude. He pops up in The Dark Knight. He's like one of the henchmen. Pops up in Suicide Squad. Great actor, also has a great look, great creepy guy look. And so after Dastmalchian's introduction, things start to get a little bit spooky, a little bit creepy, and also a little bit confusing. Because the filmmakers can't seem to decide, like, what is this monster doing? Like, what is its motivation? Like, what is its purpose? What does it do? What is it doing? He dumps all this exposition about how his kids were all murdered, and it was all done in a way to where it looks accidental, and it's like something about the monster, it feeds on your fear until you're dead. And it's like, okay, we're dipping into the it kind of theme, we're dipping into like the it feeding off of your fear kind of thing. Like, okay, I can ride with that. Or like later when David himself is like hung in a closet, it's like, okay, so the monster is doing things in a way to where it doesn't get caught, right? Like it's murdering and killing people in ways to where people would never think to look for a monster, right? There's also like a running theme of like, it's the monster that comes when you're not watching your kids. It's the beast that waits until you don't pay attention to your children. No matter how many times somebody says that, they're just like, oh shit, alright, well, I guess I better ignore my kids for the rest of the movie, right? And the film is full of all sorts of stereotypical horror movie cliches, you know, big loud noises to make you jump. Nothing too original in this film. I thought for a second at the beginning that it was going to be like this new interesting thing. Like there's a part where the door is like barely starting to open. It's like, and then it just fucking kablah! Like it just like somebody just ran up and drop kicked that door open. So it's a great scare, but then it's also like, did nobody in the house hear that? Nobody heard when John Cena ran and just body slammed into this door, dude. Vivien Blair is also a fascinating part of this movie, and she's doing wonderful in this film. She's doing a really great job acting and being terrified. Having said that, her character is insane. Her character is either the most ballsy, most don't give a fudge, most like balls to the wall, bravest little girl ever, or She has no concept of like death, or she has no understanding of what it is to be afraid. Like on her first introduction, this monster, I am not joking, full on police riot gear body slams her closet door to where it almost flies off the hinges, dude. And then it shoots under her bed. And Vivien Blair's reaction isn't to scream or like jump across the room or like try to escape. Her reaction is to dive head first upside down and be like, what's going on under the bed? And unfortunately, the longer the Boogeyman goes on, the more it starts to just unravel. The more it starts to just like forget its own setup that was only like an hour ago. Sophie Thatcher goes back to visit like the previous victim's house where the wife is still alive for some unexplained reason. Like the monster's like, cool, I killed everybody, but you know what, the mom, she can, whatever. She's also got like her entire floor like lit up with all these candles. It's, dude, like you're living in a freaking fire hazard. And what's her explanation for like a bajillion candles all on the floor? Oh, I don't know. It says something so offhand, just like, yeah, you know, at the dawn of time, the first men used fire to escape the darkness. And it's like, lady, are you trying to convince me that the Boogeyman's been around since cavemen, dude? Are you telling me that they invented fire to escape the Boogeyman? That's the level of like, what? That we're going to. We start out pretty okay. They just like, what? 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 And then it's also hard to get like a read on the monster itself. It's like, okay, so this thing is like intelligent enough to understand that it has to fake a suicide to like not get the police, I don't want to get too much heat on me. I gotta set up all these things to look like accidents. So there's like a level of intelligence, like real intelligence, like crime avoiding intelligence. And it's also like immortal, I guess, if we're living since caveman times. Like, it's so hard to get a read on the rules. The Boogeyman gets lit up by like 1,000 shotgun shells. She walks up, chat chat, double tap, 1, chat chat, 2, and the Boogeyman is like, oh yeah, that doesn't do anything. Oh, but if you've got like an aerosol can and a lighter, then watch out, because that's like the ultimate weakness. It just, oh no. 20 shotgun shells at once are nothing, but oh my goodness, that Febreze can with the flame is too much. And then there's such a half-ass, like lazy shoehorn of like a weird religious connection with their mom that just comes out of left field. At the end, she's just like trying to light the lighter, and it doesn't even like psh, like a normal light. It fucking psh, like it's like this giant flame, and she's like, oh mama. Oh, let the angels come down. It's like, dude, what is going on? So let's hit the Boogeyman with our overall rating. In terms of like just performances, like Sophie Thatcher and Vivien Blair are good. Like they're both solid, good actresses. Like they're really great. Sophie Thatcher doing a wonderful job of being the only person who seems to be like bummed out about her mom passing, and Vivien Blair doing a wonderful job as a child actress. Like she's really, really doing great. But overall, the Boogeyman, like it takes so much time at the beginning, like laying out like all these rules and like telling us all this stuff. And then it's like, all right, that was cool. Anyway, and it just like throws all that stuff away. And it's like, wait, why did you just tell me all of that stuff if you're just going to throw it all out? Unfortunately, the Boogeyman gets most of its scares from just being loud as hell, from just slamming those doors with like the force of 1,000 suns. Because when they are trying to be like creepy, it's just like a shadow. Like it's just darkness. Like darkness isn't that scary, or like it has like those little tiny beady eyes. They're like, ooh, little beady eyes. So it's like, I'm not really that scared of a shadow. I feel like at the beginning, like they were laying it out pretty good, laying it out with this way of like the monsters like setting it up to make it look like an accident. The monster can like mimic your voice and maybe like shapeshift a little bit, but they don't even do that. Like They play with it a little bit with the voice stuff, but like it would have been so much cooler to have it like shape-shifting, or like maybe have like a whole zipper thing would have been cool, like in disguise, or like make it more than just a shadow. So we're gonna have to hit the Boogeyman with a D. That's right, this one's falling below average. It's just not, at the end of the day, it's just not terribly scary. If anything, it's like more terribly confusing. If you felt differently about the Boogeyman, feel free to comment down below, and if you haven't already, hit that like and subscribe button, as it's much appreciated. I am your host as always, McLemore. We'll see you next time at the movies.